Can New York hear me? You guys, is that mic good? All right. All right. So Dharmesh Shah, the CTO and co-founder of HubSpot, an inbound marketing SaaS platform, was at a company meeting earlier this year, and he shared a story with his employees about a Sequoia Capital retreat where in California, he actually met Elon Musk. Elon Musk, as you know, is the engineer, innovator, entrepreneur who founded PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX. And Dharmesh wanted to ask Elon Musk a question. He wanted to know information so he could go back with something of value. And he asked him one question. He said, how do you work towards solving big problems? And Elon answered this way. He said, let's say you're trying to get to point X. Every person on your team is a vector. The company is determined by the sum of all vectors. If we think of a vector as a quantity that has both magnitude and direction, then your company or your team will have a bunch of vectors, probably of enormous magnitude, that may be pointing in different directions, or they can all be pointing in the same direction. Let that sink in for a second. So that basically means you can have a team of really powerful people, but if they're not all facing the same direction, you won't get to point X. And so today's keynote is not going to be about what is B2B marketing, although that would be a good keynote, or, hey, here's what we're doing on the team. It's actually going to be about how, on the B2B team, we were able to do what Elon was alluding to when he answered Dharmesh's question, which is how we actually work towards solving big problems. So why am I choosing to speak to you guys about this? Because when I think about Stack Overflow and I think about the people here, I know for a fact, and you probably know for a fact, that everybody sitting in this room and that is on the Hangout or the Zoom remotely is a vector of enormous magnitude. The sheer fact that we made it through the hiring process and that we're here today is a testament to how great and strong you are. You don't need me or Stack Overflow or anyone to actually calculate your worth or your value. But it sure as hell is great to kind of have that acknowledged. And so what I'm about to share with you today is how I, in my personal life, used an approach that works, how we on the B2B team used an approach that works. And because I believe in you, I believe in us, I believe in Stack Overflow, and because you're all more powerful than you know. So a little bit about me. That's 8-year-old Nada or 7-year-old Nada. Something you might not know. I had a really, really tough childhood and adolescence. My father was a very violent and physically abusive man who used to beat my sisters and I all the time, unpredictably. But I still was a really happy kid. And I kind of attribute that to my mother, who gave us unconditional love, whose resilience and vibrance and love of life was unbreakable. And so I always had the ability to have a vision and want to make things happen. In 2003, I actually got divorced. I became a single mom. I got out of an arranged marriage. And in the culture that I grew up in, women simply do not initiate divorce. It's taboo. And so my ex at the time, actually within the first year, decided to move to Maryland. And his exact words to me were, I cannot take the talk in the community. So here I am, single mom, 3 kids, and these are my 3 kids today. Since that time, 13 years ago, I've changed careers. I've changed jobs multiple times. I've got laid off, quit my job, and I was raising teenagers all on my own. also trained for and ran a marathon. And I am the furthest thing from an athlete. That's me about to collapse after crossing the finish line. Not the person raising her hands up, though that's exactly how I pictured myself my whole life. And so what? Why am I sharing this? So nothing. It's part of me. It's part of who I am. It's part of my struggle, and we all have struggles. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because this personal story has many parallels to the professional story that I have here at Stack Overflow. The approach that we used on the B2B team to get to point X, and the approach that I use in my personal life to get to point X has many, many parallels. So what is the approach we use to get to point X, right? Even if you know, okay, I want to run a marathon, or you have this like big lofty goal of being a $1 billion company, or being the big book of developers, or even something a little bit more concrete like, grow revenue by 55%. But how do we get there? What do we do? And so I broke it down into two things. The first thing you do is you create a process to help you get to point X. And that's the easy part. Second thing you do is you have to acknowledge and align your vectors. That is the hard part. So let me walk you through the process that I used. The first thing you do is you start with why. And I know the sales team knows this because Guy shares about Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, and that's exactly the premise that I'm using here. Before you take any endeavor on, you kind of got to get to the root and ask yourself why. It could be something as existential as, why do I exist? What is my passion? Or what inspires me? And based on that why, you can decide your destination, or it helps propel you towards your destination. And this is the golden circle. In anything that you do, when you start with your why, and it's inspiring, it's going to dictate how you do it and what you actually produce. And in Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, he talks about companies like Apple who've actually incorporated this into how they do things to actually build products and become successful. So if we take the why and we look at running and what running has done for me, my why is to make the impossible possible. And when you think of that why, I can use running to make it happen. I can get a divorce and be a single mom to make it happen. I can maybe become a triathlete. I have no idea. But it's a why that can help me move in my destination. On the B2B marketing team, and B2B, for those who might not know, is business to business. So the B2B team within the marketing team only focuses on the revenue generating aspects of our organization. There's a larger marketing team that focuses on developer marketing, product marketing, but for our purposes here, it's just B2B marketing. Our why is to enable sales. That is why we exist. It is our driver. It is why we do all the things that we do. Second thing you do after you determine your why is determine your point X. Where are you going? So for me in running, my point X is run the New York City Marathon and cross the finish line. In B2B marketing, it's to build a scalable, effective, efficient marketing engine. One that generates leads, high quality leads for the sales team, and helps convert them into customers who keep coming back. That is our destination on the B2B marketing team. After you determine your point X, list out 3 to 5 main goals that will help you get there. It can be abstract. It's still pie in the sky. So if I think of running the New York City Marathon, 3 goals that I have is, I need to build running endurance. I have no idea what that looks like yet, but I need to build running endurance. I need to improve core strength. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a jellyfish running. And I need to implement run healthy eating habits. On the B2B side, some main goals, build an inbound marketing engine. And it's not a physical engine, but it's an engine that continuously produces high quality leads for the sales team that is more inbound rather than outbound. Support the conversion of leads, prospects and prospects to customers. And that support is in partnership with the sales team because we cannot do it alone. Support customer renewals. So these are some very abstract goals that we can have. Once you figure out what your goals are, what are your key performance indicators? How do you know you're actually doing it? If I want to build running endurance, how am I going to know that I'm actually building running endurance? What do I look at? And so some of the things that I look at, maybe my weekly mileage, maybe the distance of my long runs, maybe how many speed runs I have, how many strength runs I have. When it comes to core strength, maybe it's the amount of the weights that I use or the number of repetitions, and just assessing what I'm eating. That's a KPI for my health habits. On the B2B side, it could be anything from website visits to the number of leads, or MQLs, which are marketing qualified leads, sales accepted leads, opportunities, closed deals, how many subscriptions were closed, revenue. I mean, there's so many different KPIs we can list out, and net renewal rates, for example. But this is just showing you how, once you establish what your goals are, you need to figure out what your performance indicators are. After you figured that out, create SMART objectives for each goal. And as SMART is, it's actually an acronym. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. These three factors need to be a part of your objectives because they will help you focus. So when we look at running, SMART objectives that I have for building running endurance could be, you know what? I'll run a total of 12 miles in week 1 of my training, and I'll increase by 10% each week. That's specific, it's measurable, and it's time-bound. Actually, it'd be more time-bound if I said by 20 weeks I'll be at 40 miles or whatever it is. Plank once a day for 60 seconds and increase by 10 seconds each week. I'm still at 60. I still haven't gotten beyond that, but I am working on it. Drink 8 glasses of water a day and eliminate sugar. Eliminating sugar is a challenge for me. On the B2B side, increase traffic by 10% and leads by 50% quarter over quarter. That can be an actual SMART objective. This one actually was at one point. Increase lead close rate from 6.05% to 9% by end of Q1. Increase number of renewals each month from 60 to 100 by the end of Q2. So these become very specific, very tangible. I know what I'm working towards now in a way that can manifest itself, but I still don't know how I'm going to make it happen. Before you figure that out, you got to think about, or at least what we did, what are the underlying frameworks? There's a system at play behind the scenes for the things that you do. And it varies depending on who you are or what you're doing. And so for running, the framework that I used in my training is the classic marathon training method. There are a lot of frameworks if you train for a marathon. I chose the classic one, which basically is comprised of 4 runs per week. 1 is a long run, 1 is a speed run, 1 is a strength run, 1 is an easy run, 2 strength workouts, and 1 rest day or recovery day. On the B2B side, it's the sales and marketing funnel. The framework in which we operate is based on this idea that there is a funnel, and this funnel starts with generating awareness and generating traffic, generating leads at the top, working those leads, supporting sales, nurturing them so they become prospects who are engaged in sales conversations, helping the sales team close those deals into customers, making sure the customers are happy and having them come back. And you can see that this is not something that is siloed and just exists within marketing. It's a sales and marketing funnel and usually involves many other people. After you do that, you start to list out all the possible things you can do, all the ideas that you can have, get as creative as you want to help you achieve these objectives. So some examples in running, and these are real, I actually run a few half marathon races for some of the scheduled long runs that I had. Swap out a strength training day for a yoga day, where I discovered that I'm completely inflexible. Experiment with different energy gels. And if you run and you get runner's trots, you know how horrible this can be. On the B2B marketing side, okay, some strategic tips. What if we create a bunch of free, valuable content and distribute it through social media to generate traffic and leads? We did. What if we improve sales decks by adding more what's in it for you messaging? So rather than talk about us and our features and how great we are, it's about, hey, here's the dream that we're selling you. Here's how awesome you're going to be because of what we provide you. Maybe launch a webinar training series. So these are all different initiatives that we can think about doing. But then how do you know what to do first? How do you know which one should take up your time? So the next thing you do is you prioritize your initiatives based on a value assigning matrix. And this is not scientific at all. It's subjective, it's arbitrary, but what it does is it gives you the ability to understand, if you have a list of 100 things that you can do, which ones you should prioritize right away. Sometimes it's referred to as low-hanging fruit. Maybe there are other business things people say, but I'll give you an example for running. Let's say my SMART objective of running a total of 12 miles in week 1 and increasing it by 10% each week. Here are some initiatives I can take on. I could do a hilly workout once a week. Maybe I could run some races as part of long runs. Maybe I can do long runs on weekend mornings. I can start all my runs at 5 a.m. or earlier. I can swap out some early morning runs for afternoon runs with stackers. I can run the Vancouver half, which I really wanted to do. I can run the Brooklyn half, and I can list out a zillion more things. Now, if I were to prioritize, here's a point system that I created. If it costs money, I'm going to take away 1 point. Let's assume it's neutral. Every initiative is at 0. Costs money, I'm deducting a point. If it requires coordination with others, I'm deducting 2 points. Because as an introvert, I like running alone. I love my fellow stackers, but I enjoy running alone as well. If it's efficient, and I'm all about efficiency, I'm adding 2 points. If it's in the early morning, I'm adding a point because I'm a morning person. If it requires more logistics, I got a plan, it's out of my way, I got to drive somewhere, I'm going to deduct a point. So it's a system, I made it up. Here's what the matrix would look like. I have a list of initiatives on the left. I have all the criteria that I am assigning value to at the top. And when I assessed, it was so clear to me that long runs on weekend mornings and running at 5 a.m. or earlier were the 2 things and strategic initiatives that I can do right now that would give me the most value. Did I actually do this point system when I was planning out my running? Absolutely not. But when I think back and I think about how I made decisions and I wanted to get to the core of what I was doing, it's basically something like this. Now I'll share with you something that we did on the B2B team that actually worked, that is real. Again, not scientific, but we actually use this idea of assigning values today. So let's take this objective of increasing traffic by 10% and leads by 50% quarter over quarter. Here are some strategic initiatives. Let's launch some Twitter-sponsored blog posts. Let's launch LinkedIn-sponsored. Let's do a Facebook lookalike audience. Let's do Facebook retargeting. Let's incorporate dynamic content onto the website, which basically means if you come to our website and you're cookied because you submitted a form and you leave and come back, rather than come back to what we normally would show the rest of the world, we're going to have messaging that's catered just to you. So it's dynamic based on your behavior and demographics. Post 4 blog posts a week instead of 3. We have a schedule. We do 3 a week. Let's post 4. Maybe A/B test our pricing page. Let's totally change the layout and the design of our download pages. Let's see what that looks like and what happens. So here's the point system that we came up with, and we actually use this. It's an effort return matrix. Basically, we look and we assess, is it low effort, high return? Is it low effort, medium return? Low effort, low return? And we do the same thing with medium, high, medium, 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 whoops, I did that wrong, medium, low, high, 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 medium, high, low. This point system is based a lot on things we've done in the past and what we've seen. Sometimes it's based on just hypotheses, but at least it serves as a way for us to actually assess the value of our initiatives. So when we take this and we plot it, you'll notice that some of the initiatives that are low effort and high return pop out right away. And these are the things you want to get on immediately. But also things that have high effort or medium effort, but also high return could be things that we want to start right now. Plant the seed. Let's create the work because we know it has a high return. So we just start working on it. And then if you take a closer look, there might be cool ideas in here, but in the context of all the other initiatives that we can do, something like a trade show sponsorship is high effort and a low return. And so that's when you look at it now in context of all the things, you realize, okay, this could be a good idea, but there are so many other things we can do right now that will give us the results that we want right now. that will help us get closer to point X right now. After you assign the point system, great. You've prioritized which initiatives you're going to take on. Now it's time for you to create a plan and a roadmap. Here's my plan. This is actually my training plan from when I ran the New York City Marathon. And you can see that the framework is there. I have all the different kinds of runs. It's kind of small, but all my runs are there. I see my weekly mileage, and it's all in front of me. On the B2B side, we actually created a roadmap, similar fashion, and you can see that it's within the framework. So you have top, middle, bottom of funnel. We also have corresponding KPIs for each of the parts of the funnel. And we have different activities planned, different initiatives within this roadmap. And every single activity, initiative on this map has its own brief with its own SMART objectives, its own goals, its own strategy, its own tactics. So it's like a mini plan within a larger plan. That way you're that much on top of focusing on where you're going. Because a goal without a plan is just a wish. No idea who said it. I just remembered it, so I slapped it on here. And this is the most important part. Measure, optimize, and iterate as you go. You don't set it and forget it. You don't just ship it. You don't just launch the campaign and wait a month to collect results or to see how you're doing. You have to constantly be optimizing and iterating. And I'll give you some examples. Running. I planned to run the marathon in 2013. My way of tracking and measuring was actually writing out on a piece of paper, lines down, lines across, the day of the week, the miles I'm running, and I would put a check mark on my wall when I ran the run. I tried this in 2013. I ended up getting injured. Oh, I looked at a plan that my daughter's teacher used when she ran for the marathon. I figured, oh, this is great. This is an athlete, use this. I'll just do the same thing. I ended up getting injured. I went to a physical therapist who basically told me, you have scoliosis. You do not have a body designed for running. If you run a marathon, you'll regret it, and you should drop running and take up swimming. This actually happened. But he did not know my why. And so he didn't realize how important Destination X was for me. So I dropped him. And I started to do my own planning. I did some research online, and I started to tell myself, you know what? I'll figure out a way. I changed things up a bit. I started to incorporate more strength training, and I started to document. Every time I ran a long run, I would actually write down the number of miles I was supposed to run, and I would put it on my bed before I head out the door. And the entire run, I'm envisioning holding that piece of paper with the number of miles on it and taking a wacky picture. And my son would be waiting for me, so when I finish, he's ready with the phone to take a picture of me. That's me at 13 miles. 15 was crappy, runner's trots. 16 miles, it was awesome. 18 miles, loved it. That's me running the marathon in 2014. But I did not cross the finish line. I got sent to the hospital at mile 20, hypothermia and dehydration. I planned for all the running. I did not plan for the weather. Again, so I changed things up. 2015, I got a running coach. I'm going to do things differently this time. And I'm going to have someone guide me. I'm iterating. I started to use a Garmin to measure my distance and to measure my pace. That's me running the 2015 marathon. And I did cross the finish line. So that worked. Yay! But then I got injured afterwards and I couldn't run for a few months. And so I said, I'm going to run another marathon. And this time I'm going to change my framework. I'm going to use Hanson's marathon training, which is 6 days a week you run. It's insane. You run like 50 plus miles a week. Anyway, but the point is I kept changing and iterating. What do I need to do? How do I need to change it? What water can I use? What apps can I use? And this was the Jingle Bell jog a couple of weeks ago. On the B2B side, similar. We had a plan. Let's increase leads 50% quarter over quarter. And then we relaunched the blog, and here's our strategy. And we launched new content pieces on landing pages, and we looked at the funnel and revisited what else we can do. Launched stuff in London, reworked our plan, launched stuff in German, reworked our dashboard, created a funnel, more content, more tracking. And we're constantly optimizing and iterating. The goal here is to be agile, always. Personal life, professional life, whatever it is you're working on. And here's a perfect example. So we actually did have that goal of increasing leads 50% quarter over quarter. At the end of 2014, we were only generating about 60 leads globally, and we're not talking about abandoned carts. This is just marketing generated leads. And we had this vision. What if we increase it by 50% quarter over quarter? We'll generate like 103 per month for Q1, 155 Q2. We felt really good about it, really super ambitious. And then April, May, we noticed what is going on here. We are generating so much more than we had anticipated. And what we realized is what we had planned for was actually doing so much better than we thought. In which case, let's change our objectives. No, we're going to aim higher. We don't want to generate 50% growth over month. We're actually going to shoot for over 1,000 leads every month. Let's make it happen. And sometimes you iterate because good things happen, and sometimes you iterate because crappy things happen. But it's okay. You have that process and you iterate. You always have to plan for the fact that no plan ever goes according to plan. And that's the agility. So, in a nutshell, the process: determine point X, identify your main goals, create smart objectives for each goal. Oops, I missed out the KPIs. Identify KPIs, create smart objectives, list out your strategic initiatives, prioritize, create your roadmap, measure, optimize, iterate, all within the framework that you established and your why. The vectors. This is the hard part. So when it comes to running or something personal, you're the only vector there. Yes, there are challenges that you have to overcome with yourself, but you're the only person you need to work on. When you're in a team, right, there are multiple vectors. So that complicates things a little bit. And when you think of the magnitude of a vector that Elon Musk was talking about, it's not just skill. It's not just your talents, your intellect, your smarts, your experience. Those are parts of the magnitude that make a vector what it is. But it's also fears, dreams, habits, and feelings. And that's what makes it so much more complex. And what happens if you ignore the affective part of your vectors? This guy shows up. This is the elephant in the room. You can't see him, but you can feel that he's there. And he takes up so much space. And he will never let your processes work. Your processes can be as logical and as impeccable, but they will not work if your vectors are not aligned, and they will not work if you don't acknowledge the affective parts of your vectors. What ends up happening? Process is seen as a blocker or a way to trap people. Starts to look like you're taking power away. Turf wars begin. Cliques emerge. The absence of trust actually leads to siloed work because people want to get things done. But they get things done in silos. So there's a complete lack of alignment. And when you're having conversations with people, you're never really talking about what you think you're talking about. And you don't get to point X. Or it's delayed, big time. So, did we experience this on the B2B team? Yeah, we did. And we learned a lot. And so it's really hard for me to stand here before you today and actually acknowledge this. To acknowledge that I was actually huge in getting in the way of my team's progress, because I did not acknowledge the effective part of the vectors on my team. It seems so simple. Here's the process, here's the framework, here are the goals. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Why aren't we driving? Why can't everyone just put their big girl pants on? And Alexa would tell me, Nada, use your empathy. I am empathetic. I took it personally. And Jeff would tell me, Nada, let go of your today. You cannot solve these kinds of problems on the level of logic. You can't. And I was resistant, and I couldn't see it. I just wanted everyone else to see what I saw. And the irony in that is that no one will see what I see until I see what they see. And so I had to make myself vulnerable. And that's why I'm exposing myself now, because I get the power of vulnerability. It was only when I was able to face myself, my fears, my flaws, was I able to kind of break down walls and make it easier for me to connect with other people. And only then was I able to really listen, to really hear what's said and what's not being said. And in that context, people let down their guards and they feel heard. And when they feel heard, they listen and they start to see. And so it's a very, very difficult process and very, very painful, but I really recognize the power of that. And so we overcame. We went through pains, and as a team, we overcame. We overcame these hurdles. We were vectors pointed in many different directions. And how we did it is by becoming vulnerable individually, by becoming self-aware, really, really holding up that mirror. And I thought I was a very self-aware person. Boy, was I surprised. Listen. I had a tendency to listen only to what I wanted to hear. But really listen, especially to the things that are not being said. Give feedback, and this is hard, but again, within the context of that connection, that trust, that authenticity. Notice the elephant. Create role clarity. This was huge for us. We figured, hey, we're all smart and gets things done. We all can do all the things. This is awesome. But when you have people on the team who are supposed to be doing different things, doing the same things, you're not going to get to point X. It's just not going to work. Imagine if everyone on the basketball team was playing center. I just know that because my son plays basketball. So we're not cogs in a wheel, but we each work with one another to get to a certain destination and embrace the growing pains. They are going to happen. If you resist the pain, it's not going to help you. It's not going to serve you. We're growing quickly. We're becoming more sophisticated. We are all really talented people. And when you have a bunch of talented people in a room, they each want to do their thing. So embrace the growing pains because they are going to happen. So on the B2B team, we acknowledge their fears, we acknowledge their dreams, their habits, their feelings, and then we align them. And our work is not done, but we have a really, really safe space right now. The end result, what ended up happening, people felt more empowered. Shared goals really become shared goals, and not just a thing on a piece of paper. Conflict becomes really good and is welcomed because now we can argue about the things that we're actually arguing about, not about the elephants in the room or the things that are not being said. The process of getting to point X is accelerated. We're okay failing because when we do, we know why. We have that process that we're working in the context of. And whatever processes you've created to support the process are constantly being optimized. Harmony, all around. So just some of the great things we were able to accomplish because of this. We launched a lot of repeatable, efficient, scalable marketing campaigns that have influenced year-to-date about 30% of talent revenue. We grew our total top-of-funnel leads from 60 per month at the beginning of 2015 to, as of today, 3,000 per month globally. This is not through rented lists. This is not through, conference attendees. This is all through inbound marketing. So people who hear about us, find us through different channels and come to us, submit a form because they're downloading a piece of content that's valuable to them, because they want to speak to a developer hiring expert. 3,000 globally. We've participated, hosted, joined, and launched multiple events in the UK and Germany, generating dozens of worldwide press mentions and contributing to over $600,000 in revenue this year alone. We've managed to keep a blended cost per lead of $31, which is high if you think about it. Every single lead that comes into your lead distribution tool is $31. But in the context of other companies and other marketing campaigns, it could be a much higher number, but it's not. We have earned 62,318 social shares of our content since April 2015. For the Stack Overflow community, this seems like a very small number because we have millions of people on our site, but for Stack Overflow talent or Stack Overflow careers, where there's really a lack of brand awareness in who we are, this is huge. And we did this since April 2015. We also grew our LinkedIn followers from 184 in January of 2015 to over 12,000 today, and Twitter from 800 to about 3,400. So we're really poised to fly in 2017. Since the business focus next year is going to be on subscription deals and on renewals, we need to make sure that our marketing engine is also equipped and set up in a way to be scalable and efficient to support those needs. However, doing that middle and bottom of funnel is going to require a lot more solid, strong partnerships, aligning vectors on multiple other teams: sales, customer success, product. The B2B team, the enablers. So I would be doing the team a disservice if I didn't talk about who they are. I would not be here today if it weren't for the vectors on my team. And just like electricity, it enables us to be here today and to host this presentation and to have all the remote people on the Hangout. We only feel it when it's not there. We kind of take it for granted sometimes. So I want to take this opportunity to just share with you, the B2B team, who they are for me and who they are for this company. And we'll start with Natalia. Natalia is the regional marketing manager in EMEA. She's responsible for the UKI market. And when I think of Natalia, I think steadfast, I think driven, I think focused on results. Uncertainty doesn't faze her. She takes change and embraces it with grace. She formed a partnership with the sales team in the UK office that everyone wants to emulate. She spearheaded many different campaigns, of them being a part of the State of the European Tech Report, slush events, webinars. She has done so much in the UK market that we also take and we leverage in other markets. Chloe. Chloe works with Natalia on the EMEA team. She is a marketing coordinator, and she has grown so much. And when I think of Chloe, I think of creative, diligent, and collaborative. Chloe has gone from someone who just executes and implements campaigns or portions of it to actually be the strategic mind behind multifaceted campaigns and project management. She has done things like coordinate entire webinars, the strategy behind it. She has coordinated the entire gift giving of 2015 to current clients and created a campaign around it. She even optimized Tech Talent Week this year and helped us generate the revenue targets that we had for that event of, I think, over 132K, maybe incorrect. Lorraine. Lorraine is also on the marketing team in EMEA. And when I think of Lorraine, I think enthusiastic. I think of her shaking things up, and she's an innovator. She takes challenges with a big heart, and she loves to contribute. She supports, along with Chloe, not just the UKI market, but they've also supported the German market, and Lorraine also supported the French market, even though she's not technically part of the French team. She has done things like DevBox. She has organized HRM Expo, which is a German event, and she has worked with the German team to make it happen. Raquel. Raquel is the regional marketing manager for Germany. And when I think of Raquel, I think possibility seer, I think determined, and I think result producer. Nothing can get in the way of Raquel. She will see opportunity, she will see possibility, and she will work towards it. She was the first person on the team to actually start webinars and to see the success of them and to optimize them. And she actually created a process that works for us globally. She has done things like direct mail campaigns. She has tested out many different things. She's done promotional campaigns in the German market and track their performance. She also created a video. What is Stack Overflow? In German. Every month to make sure that we also emulate, which we will. And also her webinar series. On Raquel's team is Midi, who is the content writer for Germany. And when I think of Midi, I think thoughtful, brilliant, and great storyteller. I don't speak German, but I know from the German team that she's a great storyteller. And when I speak to her, even in English, she is a great storyteller. Very logical, brilliant, creative. And Midi not only supported Raquel in the webinars and in press briefings, but Midi also was the mastermind behind the German ecosystem. She partnered with Kevin Troy and the Insights team to create an ecosystem or landscape report in German targeted towards the German market. And in its first week of launch, it generated more than 600 leads for the sales team. First week. And when they did launch it, they launched it in a multifaceted campaign. So there was PR around it, not just on the website. Dominic. Dom is our digital marketing manager, and he supports all digital efforts, not just in EMEA. When I think of Dom, I think of creator of order from chaos, I think dedication, and I think relentless. Dom has taken our digital marketing to the next level. He is so structured and so well organized and so keen on making a difference that he has helped us restructure our URLs, our Google Analytics accounts. He has made sure that any new campaigns that are implemented with a clear why, clear objectives. He has partnered with the content team to really improve our paid acquisition strategy and comes up with a bunch of ideas, dynamic content, changing our emails, including creating workflows. Oh my gosh, we have so many leads. So you see those 3,000 leads we produce a month? Only about 80% of them actually get passed on to sales because the other 20%, they're not ready for sales. We need to nurture them. So Dom has instituted multiple workflows, multiple drip campaigns to nurture those leads so that they actually become sales ready. Erin. For those of you who have been here for years, you all know Erin. Erin started on the sales team. And when I think of Erin, I think versatile. I think persistent. I think bridge builder. She is amazing and her growth is phenomenal. She started on sales, she came to marketing, and she does whatever it takes to make things happen. She actually wrote our very first content piece before Rachel came on. I think it was right when Rachel started, which is how not to write a developer job listing, which is one of our best content pieces in terms of lead generation for the team. She has even created reporting dashboards to help us track performance on our paid acquisition campaigns, and now is able to support the entire marketing team, regardless of market, region, or language, on their campaigns. Rachel is our content marketing manager. All of you probably know who she is by now. Rachel is fearless. When I think of Rachel, I think trailblazer. I think gets the job done. And Rachel was able to come in around April, May 2015, and all we had was a vision and a dream. All we had was this idea, this strategy of content marketing. We know content is going to be the fuel. We need you, Rachel. Can you do this? And she drove. Rachel created an editorial content calendar. She hired Rich. She was the first to create the landscape report in North America. She helped us with the content for our website, which is more product marketing. We worked together to create the developer hiring process, and nothing stood in her way of making things happen. 72% of all the leads we generate are because of the content that the content marketing team generates. That's huge. So of the 22,000 leads we've created to date, year to date, not even counting 2015, that's like 15,000 of them, content. Rich is our content marketing writer who also supports global content marketing efforts. And when I think of Rich, I think he's an idea machine. He is flexible. He's growth oriented. It's all about growth. Where can I support? Where can I help? What do I need to learn? And he has helped create a lot of content, things like the passive tech recruiting playbook, the developer hiring process, product guide. And he even takes on new processes like a champ. He'll make it work. He doesn't shy away from new process or, hey, we need to change things up. Let's change things up. What do you need from me? And I've actually heard, I don't remember who it was, but someone from the UK team actually was trying to get in touch with JP Morgan. I think it was a SAM account, and told me that trying to get through to JP Morgan and could not get anyone on the phone until an executive from JP Morgan actually downloaded something that Rich wrote or read a blog post that Rich wrote, and then reached out to the rep and said, this is great. Can we talk? Stephen McMullen. Stephen is not really technically on the B2B team. He is an honorary team member. He's technically on the ops team. But Stephen, when I think of him, I think headlights. I think systems builder. And I think nothing is impossible. It's because of Stephen that we are able to see where we're going, where we're at, any stats, any information, any data we need. He's able to bring it to life. And he has done things like create the KPI tracker for us, the funnel reports, even an entire Trello where all of his reports are. And he's not even reactive, he's proactive. He actually will take the initiative to be like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. Or hey, I think you'll need this. I think it'll help. So these are all the vectors on the team. And they're all pointing towards X. We were not like that earlier in the year, but now we're all pointing to X. And so process plus vectors equals success. You are more powerful than you know. Have faith in the process, build trust with your people, and you'll get there. Thank you. I'm on time. Any questions? No? Even better. If anybody has any questions, I mean, feel free to shoot me an email afterwards or talk to any of the... Cool. I think we're done. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy holidays.